Honestly, I have no time to die right now. I just posted the first episode. Like, we have work to do. I woke up today with some terrible news. Who is the perfect person for me to pick up the phone and call to tell them that I tested positive for COVID? Moby, I tested positive today in the morning.
What the weren't you isolating this entire time?
I have been. Oh, the hospital's calling. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, call me, bye.
Hello?
Hi there, it's Dr. Rasmi.
Yes.
You came in here on Wednesday for a test,
Yes.
COVID test. That test was positive.
Wow, this was a total coincidence. I'm feeling fine right now, just in case anybody's wondering. But we're going on flu season. A lot of people might go through something similar. So I'm sharing my experience so that you guys have an idea about this. The very first day that I started feeling not okay started with diarrhea. And from that point, I was just treating it like a normal diarrhea. I took some medicine for it, whatever, and I felt fine. 2 days later or so, I started having a cough, and the cough was dry. And I started worrying at that point. I was like, okay, I'm having a dry cough. I had diarrhea, but I can still operate normally. Everything is fine. All that time I was completely isolating and quarantining because I was required to do that. And from that point on, it started getting worse, and I started feeling like I wasn't able to breathe very well. And then all of a sudden, my whole body started feeling very painful, and I was in a lot of pain. I was on the couch. Like, I remember I was trying to get the video out, and I was so sick and I was so tired and I couldn't move. And I was sitting on the couch trying to edit the last bits, and I couldn't edit all the stuff that I wanted to edit in the first video because I was so tired. And then my fever jumped, just went straight to 38.6, and at that point, like, my head felt like it was going to explode. My cough was so much worse. But the thing is, at that point, I had a congested nose and I was coughing with phlegm. I didn't have a dry cough. So at that point, I was like, okay, so I have a congested nose, my cough is not dry, and my fever is not that bad, like it's 38.6, and I'm someone who has some immunity problems. So I was in my head like feeling worried because I was definitely very sick and tired, but I wasn't sure if it was COVID because I was like, okay, the cough is not dry, my diarrhea is gone, fever is not that high, and my nose is congested. So I was like, okay, like this is like a little bit weird, but I was still like not very sure. And then all of a sudden I stopped being able to smell anything. And I remember this so much because I put Vicks on my face, and I hate that thing because you put it on my face and obviously like you smell it so strongly and it just like goes straight into your lungs. And for the first time in my life, I put it on, I was like, I can't smell anything. I can't smell the Vicks. And I started freaking out in that moment. This was the scariest thing because I started to realize that, okay, this might be COVID. But then my nose was congested, and everything I was reading online was like, oh, you're not supposed to have a congested nose. You're supposed to lose your sense of smell, but not with a congested nose. And if you have a congested nose with loss of smell, then it could be just a regular flu. So I was like, okay, thank God. I probably don't have COVID. So it's like yes, no. Anyway, and then at that point, man, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I was so dead. Like I really felt like I could not breathe. Like I had to keep opening the windows and like going out for fresh air. And I'm like, I can't breathe. And I thought it was the heater because it was so cold outside and the heater was blasting. And sometimes the heater, when it's blasting, you really get so choked up. Like you can't really breathe because the air is so dry. And I got the humidifier and I had it blasting right next to me. Man, that was a bad day. And all this time, I'm like, I can't breathe. This heater is killing me, and I'm opening the windows, whatever. Anyway, Canada does these tests for you the minute you land at the airport, and then 7 days later, and then 7 days after that. On my first day of getting tested at the airport, I tested negative. On my 7th day of getting tested, I tested non-negative, not positive, but non-negative. That's basically an inconclusive result. So they required me to go into a hospital to get tested and do the PCR test. And then I went home, and all this time I started feeling a little bit better. I didn't get in contact with anybody. I sanitized my hand before and after. I was wearing a mask the whole time. Just got the PCR test, and I can tell you that there's absolutely no difference between how painful it is over here or in Egypt. It is painful anywhere. I took all the precautions that I could take. Long story short, I wake up today and I got my positive test result, and I told everybody that I had seen 2 weeks ago because I haven't seen anybody since then. Everybody else seems fine. So that's the good news. Anyway, I just got off the phone with my family doctor in Toronto. Obviously, there's no medication for COVID, right? So the things that I've been taking, he doesn't know if this medication works or doesn't work, but he knows that there's no medication specifically for COVID. He also said that the difficulty breathing can come back. And if you feel like that one more time and you really can't breathe, you have to at that point call 911 and you have to go to the emergency room. You're not going to call telehealth at that point. Otherwise, if you're not feeling okay or if you're trying to get help from a doctor, you call 311, ask them for the telehealth number in Toronto or wherever you are. And that way you can get connected and talk to them about your symptoms or whatever. But you know, there's no telehealth if you're dying. If you're having bronchitis, if you're having an issue breathing, that kind of stuff, you have to be very careful. The other thing that he said that was super important is that obviously after this whole thing is over, I'm not going to be infectious past that incubation period. But despite not being infectious and the fact that people say that you get immunity, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get it a second time. In fact, there are cases that get it the first time and they're mild and they're okay. It's not a big deal. Then they stop taking care, like wearing a mask and sanitizing and washing your hands and all that kind of stuff. And then they get it the second time and they end up in the ICU. So it's very important that for anybody who gets it or got it, that you stay vigilant, that you stay very, very careful, that you take this seriously. And even if you're not infectious or giving it to other people, you can get it from someone else. You have to be very, very careful. One more thing that the doctor said is that the 10-day mark is when you start to turn a corner, which is why right now I feel like I'm feeling a little bit better. And the day 7 is supposed to be really bad. And that falls exactly on the day when I started getting a fever. And then the first doctor that called told me that starting from the 14th day of my initial 2-week incubation period that I was staying at home at that point, I'm no longer infectious. But he said that you can still test positive for up to 6 weeks after that point, but you're no longer infectious. So he said that starting from the 14th day, I can start going out. But I'm personally not going to go out after the 14th day. I'm personally going to stay in for a little bit longer. I'm going to see what the public health advisor says because I'm waiting for their call. I should turn my phone on. And maybe they're going to tell me to isolate for another couple of weeks. So I'll write an update in the description if you guys want to check it out. Yeah, anyway, that's it. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys have an idea about what happened. COVID's not going anywhere, guys. So you got to stay vigilant. You have to stay careful. You have to be very, very cautious with that kind of stuff. Don't invite your friends over. Habibi Nation, if you guys are watching, I had friends that were supposed to be coming over on the day of the end of my quarantine. Thank God that I canceled that. Didn't have anybody over during that time, although I was very tempted. A wise person, Annie, if you're watching, thank you for telling me this, told me that it was probably a bad idea. And I listened to her and I didn't have anybody over. And I also canceled all of the stuff that I had to do next week. That means I'm going to be staying at home for 3 weeks, which is more than what I've been advised by my doctor anyway, but I just want to be safe. And, you know, thank God, like I can order food in, like groceries are delivered to your doorstep. Telehealth can send you medication if you want. But hey, I'm coming from Egypt. I'm loaded. Thank you to my father, who's a doctor. He's probably watching right now. Thank you, Dr. Rasmi. I appreciate you hooking me up with all of the medicine that you gave me. I don't know if it worked or not, or if it's just like the regular incubation period, but it definitely helped me. And it saved other people because I didn't have to leave outside and like go and interact with other people. So thank you, doctor. I appreciate you. Yeah, that's it. I gotta go get back to work on the second episode and an update that I'm bringing for you guys. So stay tuned. Honestly, I have no time to die right now, so I got stuff to do, right? Like I just posted the first episode. Like we have work to do. I'm just putting this out for the record. I'm not dying right now because I got stuff to do. Okay, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I hope this was helpful, guys. I'm going to be posting a cool update very, very soon, and I'll let you know as soon as I post the video. Thank you for watching. We got stuff to do, so let's go.